actually keep working, and it's the work that keeps them. It's like a lot of people, when somebody says to them, oh, you need to retire. Not to me. They'll say to other people, oh, right, I'll retire.
Continue for 1.5 miles.
We're coming the different way. Last time we went from the Burnham.
Okay.
We're just going from Slough.
Do you think there's going to be traffic the other way today?
I don't know, sometime we do. But
Okay.
I know the way, but the problem is sometimes the problem is sometimes if it is traffic, if I go and I'll be stuck, you know.
Okay.
And, so I'll always follow the map.
You back tonight?
Yeah, back in tonight again.
And is tonight your last one?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's quite nice village, this one. It's great.
Universities have been warned by the government not to discriminate against grammar schools in any attempt to increase diversity. School heads, campaigners and senior MPs all criticised Cambridge University's Vice-Chancellor after he complained that substituting more grammar school students for students from independent schools would not accomplish widening participation goals. But my favourite story of the day is the Virgin Atlantic flight to New York. It was forced to return to Heathrow after the bosses discovered one of its pilots not actually completed the training. He was flying the blooming thing. This was mid-flight. Virgin apologised for the disruption and blamed a rostering issue. It said internal protocols rather than UK aviation or safety regulations had been breached, and so the Airbus aborted its flight to New York as it passed over Ireland about 10:15 on Monday. You can imagine. Normally you get these things from the pilot. They go, "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know, we're flying at the... Oh, wait a minute, I've not passed any tests for this one. We'll just land again and worry about that a bit later." Somebody else says, "Wills, we paid over £400,000 on my dad's estate." Yeah, you do. And you have to pay for all of this stuff, because I'm taking some out of 2 of my pensions. And but they said, and we only got this when we did the will, and they said over 325,000, 40% tax. There you go. So in other words, it comes down quite significantly. The only way round it apparently is to set up a trust fund. If you set up a trust, and it's so because you've also got to nominate who administers your estate. Do you want the bank to do it? Do you want a friend to do it? Have you got a close friend in the family? And then once you've nominated somebody as somebody who's going to act for you, they have to sign 2 documents. You've got to pay for these. They're about 600 quid a time. And because if you go completely round the bend and you start, you don't...
In 300 yards, keep right to continue towards Tons Lane, A355.
So much more complex. I thought it was just simple. You died, and then they distribute your money. No, not at all. It's quite frightening, isn't it? Because as I say, most people, if you've got a flat, it's worth over £300,000 now. You've only got to just tip it, 325,000, you're into 40% tax, inheritance tax.
Keep right.
I've got to go. Don't forget my free Little Bit Extra podcast. There's a new episode to download every day, exclusively on the Global Player app. And if you missed any of this morning's programme, there's a podcast of the whole show available very shortly as well. Just go to lbc.co.uk. Download the Global Player app, then you can take it with you around the world. It'll be fantastic. If you missed any of this, download please. I'll be back with you on Monday morning at 4 a.m.
In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the first exit onto the M4 slip road to London, Heathrow Airport.
I want to see. They look so nice. Yeah. Compared to yesterday. Yesterday, remember? It was dark and raining.
That's right.
That's what I like, when it's dark and raining, I can sleep straight away. But this one now, I'm going to be awake for
Why
ages.
they're rushing? There's a red light, but
Yeah, and they're still running just to go stop there.
Neglect to police last year
Come
resulted in any criminal action. I'm LBC's Vicky Smith with the story.
To Ukraine, an exclusive LBC interview with former boxing heavyweight champion of the world, Vladimir Klitschko.
We need to stop this aggression. We need to stop this senseless killing of the Ukrainian population. It's not just killing, it's murdering, raping, and torturing.
In a quarter of a mile, merge onto M4.
Full background on that and why this. Famous football anthem could be banned for the next World Cup because it might offend other nations.
What?
I'll explain more after the news here.
That's crazy. That's a British anthem for so many years.
what did he say?
You know the anthem, the song they were singing now, Football's Coming Home. It's a British anthem
Yeah.
for centuries and years and years. Now they're saying this time when the World Cup come, they will stop this. They banned it. They said no, you can't play the song because it may.
Continue on M4 for 5 miles.
But there's no discrimination. It's just saying football's coming home.
Highest level since the recession in 2009. Economists are predicting the base rate will go up by at least 0.25 percentage points to 1%. It will be the 4th consecutive increase as the bank tries to tackle rising inflation. Property developer Mani Kiroya says there are risks to his business.
From high inflation, yes, asset prices generally go up, but then we have the issue of affordability, and what we want to avoid with the cost of living crisis that's going on is people starting to think, wow, maybe I can't afford this.
In the US, where inflation's at a 40-year high, the Federal Reserve has announced its biggest rate increase in more than 2 decades. Russia says it will hold a 3-day ceasefire in its attacks on a massive steelworks in the Ukrainian city of Mariupol. It's hoped that would allow around 200 civilians still sheltering inside the plants to leave. It's the last part of the city still held by Ukrainian forces. President Zelensky says more than 300 people managed to escape the area yesterday in an evacuation led by the Red Cross.
We agree and hope to continue rescuing people from Azovstal and Mariupol. There are still civilians, women and children. To save them, we have to continue the regime of silence.
Polls are now opening in a series of elections across the UK. In England, more than 4,000 councillors in 146 local authorities are standing for election, including all 32 London boroughs. There are also votes for all councils in Scotland and Wales, and voters in Northern Ireland are electing a new assembly at Stormont. There's a warning, scam cases involving screen sharing has surged. The Financial Conduct Authority says sharing your screen without making proper checks can change everything in an instant. One victim lost more than £48,000. And there won't be an All-English Champions League final this year. Manchester City conceded twice right at the end of 90 minutes as they eventually lost 3-1 to Real Madrid last night and 6-5 on aggregate. These fans thought they were going to Paris to face Liverpool.
Disappointment, just booked the flights and booked the flights before we went in it, but it's one of them.
5 minutes to book flights and then
In the city, the FTSE 100 will reopen at 74.93 after closing down 67 points yesterday. The pound buys $1.25 and €1.18. LBC weather, dry with some warm sunny spells for most of England and Wales. Cloudy across Scotland and Northern Ireland with some rain and drizzle at times. A high of 20 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Simon Conley.
Today's day begins when Sarah was scrolling through her feed. Suddenly, Sarah heard a mysterious sound. The Wi-Fi is down. Sarah was trapped by the spinning wheel.
Save yourself from broadband nightmares. Get BT's on
In 2 miles, at junction 4B, exit towards M3, M23.
Territorial Defence Brigade allies his views on Vladimir Putin.
To start this war, you have to be mad. There is no sense of what Putin has started. Behind every killing, murdering, torturing is first and last name. Justice will occur.
D-Day, as regards interest rates, we'll give you a full update on that later in this hour. The possibility of yet more travel chaos. Passengers in some airports now suffering 3-hour delays. The background to that. Oh, and the university students who were told that Shakespeare had been trigger warnings about the works of Shakespeare, and even if you're struggling, it's Little House on the Prairie. And yes, we now have to warn students who have the content of that TV show.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
And just to make one point we can right at the top, because if you're thinking, well, aren't we doing a story about this politician accused of that or that politician accused of this, or as you are aware and you heard on the LBC News Bulletin, it is local election day and there are very strict guidelines.
This is like a very bad situation, man. The car is going from here to there, here to there.
In and out lanes.
I could turn the entire election in Oswald Street.
No signal, nothing else.
It's lucky you got this one.
Take them on, so it will not have its usual level of political content. We'll be back at business, of course, tomorrow. So a wider range of stories today. Having said that, this story has such impact we would have covered it anyway. It is an LBC exclusive, and covering the very high percentage of reports, 97% of reports of child cruelty or neglect that see no one brought to court or even charges being preferred.
In a 1/4 mile, at junction 4B, exit towards M3, M23.
Sorry, we can't go that way.
80% of reports of child cruelty or neglect to police in England result in any criminal action. Child neglect is the ongoing failure to meet a child's basic needs.
Exit at junction 4B, then keep right at the fork.
Common form of child abuse. For example, children being left hungry or dirty without proper clothing, being abandoned, or in some cases being physically abused. I've seen evidence from 28 forces across England that shows the rate of charges varies from 0 to 12% from force to force, but on average, only 2.5% of reports led to anyone being charged or summoned.
So looks nice today.
Because of issues gathering evidence that would stand.
Many people like to do barbecue this time.
This time? Well, you mean like later? Yeah, of course, yeah. Even me, my whole family, they do it in the afternoon.
Yeah.
If it's like this one, nice, everybody find a reason to go to somewhere nice, you know?
Yeah.
Whether it's a lake, whether it's a beach, whether it's a barbecue, the sun makes everybody go do something. But with British weather, it'll be sunny for 2 hours and then the rain will come after.
Yeah.
This is what I've told people. I've said what it will do, it's going to keep on happening. Well, this is why it needs to change. It needs to change drastically. You know, we can't have children like that being put in these positions.
Detective Chief Constable Ian Critchley, the Child Protection Lead for the National Police Chiefs Council, told me in many of these cases it's more appropriate for the report to be referred to other agencies like social services for them to respond.
Well, there is lots of other things that take place in terms of being able to protect that child, which doesn't always require criminal justice outcome. And that's just in relation to that. There are other charges, some of which are more serious than are reflected in these figures, ranging right through to murder and manslaughter through to assault.
The figures also show a surge in reports of child neglect in 2021 compared to the previous year, up by over 20%. And I heard that the lockdowns did present more difficulties for investigators gathering evidence with less professionals going into homes. But this comes, Nick, after yesterday the Court of Appeal heard that 6-year-old Arthur Labinjo Hughes faced systematic brutality amounting to torture leading up to his death, as his killers are among those having their sentences reviewed. And it's also, as we are expecting to hear the parole board decision later on the possible release of baby P's mum, Tracy Connolly.
LBC's Vicky Smith reporting with that. We'll hear from the policing side and someone who served in a senior level
In 2 miles, at junction 3, take the A312 exit to Harrow, Hayes.
Hudgel, who has an adopted son, Tony, and joins me now. Paula, can you explain to my listeners the level of abuse, if it doesn't upset you, of course, the level of abuse your son endured and what it brought about? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Yes, back in, Tony was born in 2014. Within his first 41 days of birth, he suffered multiple fractures of all his limbs, a hip dislocation, fractures to his rib, blunt trauma to his face, dislocations to his big toe, his thumbs, his wrist, and he was left anything up to 10 days.
And this is at the hands of his biological parents, just to...
At the hands of his biological birth parents, yeah. He was left up to 10 days as well in absolutely excruciating pain. By the time he was taken for medical help, he was unresponsive. He had developed sepsis, toxic shock, and multi-organ failure. He ended up on life support, and thankfully the NHS worked so tirelessly on him for 4
You like
months.
to use mobile?
Yeah, I'm always just on it.
Me, I normally like to see the outside view.
Yeah.
He's a real strong character. But sadly in 2017, due to the damage to his legs, he had to make that tragic decision to have both his legs amputated.
Right, I see. Now, you've been campaigning for Tony's Law, indeed successfully. Explain what that is.
Yeah, so obviously when we foster Tony initially, we had no right to know.
You took a different route today, innit? Even when he was exiting, because there was too much traffic over there.
Yeah.
So you come this way.
No. We came this last time same way.
Yeah.
But last time we went to junction 7.
Okay.
This time we are junction 6.
Okay.
623.
Okay.
With our MP as well and the Peace Crime Commissioner, we managed to overturn the big.
It just cut off by one junction.
In a quarter of a mile, at junction 3, take the A312 exit to Harrow, Hayes.
Now you remember.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what it is.
The judge was very brave and was able to sentence him to the maximum sentence he had the powers to of 10 years.
If we drive a little bit
Exit at junction 3.
reach Hammersmith.
Oh, you mean this way? If we go, yeah. I know
In a quarter of a mile, at Cranford Parkway interchange, take the 4th exit onto the Parkway, A312.
Tremendous work you and your colleagues have done. Just lastly, the figures that LBC have unearthed in 97% of these cases. A reaction from you on that, as someone who's worked, has campaigned in this field?
I mean, it's absolutely, truly shocking, but I'm not surprised because I know how hard we had to work to get our case to court. And I've come across since then as well. I get emails all the time, and I am helping others to try and bring their cases to court as well. It's so difficult. Child cruelty is one of the hardest crimes to actually convict on.
Well, we're getting into the police aspect now. Paula, will you give Tony, your son, a hug from me? Thank you, Paula Hudgel, and congratulations you and all your colleagues did in campaigning for Tony's Law and bringing about conviction for the evil biological parents of your lad. Thank you for that. You're listening to LBC 713 News Breaking at this time, and Shell has just reported its figures. I've got these in dollars. So this is a profit of $9.13 billion in the first quarter of the year. Its highest ever. They're up. The earnings are up by 43%. So the company now looking at an $8.67 billion profit. So what's that? The thick end of $9 billion profit. If you want to get an idea, the figures last year was $3.13.
But to understand one thing, even yesterday, BP made more than £5 billion, and the oil price is so high. They're making profit.
And and still charging us everyone more.
Okay, but if you don't have each business has got they need to earn money. But,
look at that turnover though.
Taking that much money.
Look at that turnover.
Exit the roundabout onto the Parkway.
Start with Mr. Taylor. Why such a high.
But Shell is like the royal family owned Shell, you know.
Continue on the parkway for 1 mile.
Which royal family?
The Queen.
Is it?
Yeah, Shell. The
Is
whole.
it the British company?
Yeah, the whole it's royal company. Forget British company. It's royal. The royalty own it.
Oh, I don't know.
You know, yeah. Shell is different.
Police officers, the detectives doing this work, and whatever the case will be, we'll get the evidence together, and they will then put the strength of the evidence.
This old lady, she's so old.
I think Shell is the American company because they're talking in dollar.
No, I'm pretty sure that the royal family have got huge shares in Shell because it was theirs. It was theirs to begin with, and then they let people invest their money in, if that makes sense.
Including mine, they also have caution. Is this in the public interest? Well, possibly, yes, that's their words. If it's not, no prosecution.
Okay.
Or what if the likelihood of a successful prosecution in
But
court?
they're making too much money.
Even me, I didn't know it was them, but you know the guy in LD6, the Mark I'm telling you about?
Yeah.
The English guy, he's the one that told me. I never knew that the royal family had anything to do with Shell. But this guy told me.
The oil price gone up like very expensive.
Yeah, the fuel's very, very expensive now. Very expensive.
You have the baby Peter.
Almost I need to pay yesterday. I paid like more than £70 for one.
For full tank.
Yeah.
And how long will that last you?
Maybe a week, no, week and a half, something like that.
And is that just work and home, work and home?
Yeah, that's it.
Nothing else?
Nothing else.
It's not good.
In a quarter of a mile, at Wagoners Roundabout, take the second exit and stay on the parkway, A312.
The numbers of children who are suffering from neglect or ill treatment, malnutrition, they're far higher. So actually, you look at the figures are so low for prosecution, thinking, well, hang on a
Suddenly
minute.
the price.
We know that the figures have been
We're going over the roof.
I used to pay like 120.
But have you noticed the wages never go up, but everything else go up. But the rent and everything.
Yeah, especially in our, which we were working the company.
Yeah.
They never increased the money. That's
bullshit.
All time same.
Bullshit. That's bullshit. I had to put them things in my ear today. When I was walking inside the rooms, the machines are making so much noise. Why do they make so much noise? Are they on all the time?
Yeah, all the time. Never shut down. Only they shut down when they break.
Already. Thank you, Jonathan Taylor, for detective and sexual abuse investigations with the Metropolitan Police. Now, child safeguarding consultant. How and why?
And can that shit not blow up?
Also coming up later in the hour.
Exit the roundabout onto the parkway.
Blow up, explode?
Continue on A312 for 1.5 miles.
Okay. I was scared when I was walking between them. I'm thinking, what the fuck is
Oh,
this?
they are the servers.
Yeah. So many of them, though. So many. I've never seen so many servers in my life. And wires.
It's been the anthem for the England football
They're just
team
keeping
since
data.
1996. I appreciate some of you weren't even born then. But if you think you're going to be seeing it at the upcoming World Cup, you might be out of luck, and I'll explain why later in the show. 7:17 LBC News headlines with Simon Conway.
An LBC investigation has found 97% of reports of child cruelty or neglect don't lead to a prosecution. Another interest rate rise is expected later as the Bank of England tries to cool soaring inflation. Russia says it will hold a 3-day ceasefire in its attacks on a massive steelworks in Mariupol in Ukraine to allow civilians to leave. LBC weather dry with some warm sunny spells, cloudier with some rain at times in the northwest, a high of 20 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Joanne Webb. Two problems on the M3. Firstly, one lane's closed southbound just after the M25 junction because a car's broken down. And then northbound on the M3, a car has also broken down just before junction 4 at Camberley. And one lane is closed for recovery. Very busy northbound to the Blackwall Tunnel this morning from before the Woolwich Road flyover after 2 brief closures earlier. Everything's open now, but it's still very slow. On the trains, because of a technical problem earlier this morning, Heathrow Express and TfL rail services are delayed by about half an hour to and from the airport. Southern services aren't running between Clapham Junction and Milton Keynes Central because of the track problem. And on the underground, there are minor delays on the Metropolitan line between Harrow-on-the-Hill and Uxbridge.
This is LBC.
Yeah, so we're going to need to increase your monthly mobile bill.
Again? Why?
Not really sure, to be honest.
Is there anything you can do?
No, can't do.
Let me be your
services during minimum contract period. See tescomobile.com/fixed-prices.
LBC's Election Night Live with Ian Dale. Follow the results this evening from 10.
eToro is a social network.
No, eToro is an investment platform.
It's both. That's social investing. In other words, it's where millions of people invest in stocks.
So how many days you off?
Ideas.
I'm back on Saturday. I rest today, tomorrow, and then Saturday. But tomorrow is Friday. I'm with the family, so it's not resting. But today I will rest. You know what I mean? Today I will rest. And then I'm working Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Another 5 days on, and then 3 days off. But I emailed the guys at Equinix. I emailed them, send them a big email, all my CV, all my qualifications.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Did you get replied?
No, I done it today. When I come to work today, about 7, half 7.
Okay.
That's when I send the email.
Okay.
So hopefully, when I go to sleep now and I wake up later, I'll wake up to reply. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They do.
Yeah, so we're going to need to increase your monthly mobile bill.
Again? Why?
Not really sure, to be honest.
Is there anything you can do?
No.
That Asian guy, Biggie, he's just telling me, yeah, they definitely need people.
Yeah. They need plenty of people.
Increase prices.
Yeah, but if they need someone, they have to pay the people properly, man.
Just left.
Every little helps. Tesco Mobile.
Because before even K4, we were sending lots of guys here, but they was having issues with one of the guys. It wasn't LD4 and it wasn't LD6. It was somewhere else. All the K4 security that was getting sent there, they're having one problem. They're having a problem with just one guy that worked for Equinix, and he has problem with all the K4 security. I forgot the office was talking about it. The office in K4 was talking about it because 4 security guards came from Equinix and they said, "Fuck off, we're never going back there again." Because of this one man, one guy, always complaining and he's moaning to them, and he's complaining to them because he knows they're temporary staff. He's permanent, so he feel like he's higher. So they tell them, "Fuck you, and you're permanent. Go." You know what I mean?
Careful as well that I can't. All right, okay. Well, this paper costs 80p.
But yeah, I remember 4 members of staff coming in and saying, "Don't ever send us to Slough or Equinix again."
That's this is absurd. I've got to be able to do a little bit of it. Come on. The front page of the Daily.
But me, I like the place. I think it's nice.
Rwanda plan.
And now the shortcut you give me, with the train.
Where they ended, I don't know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Equinix, everybody's good.
So I probably
I
have
haven't
to change
seen
that.
anyone else.
Let's instead look at the Daily Express's front page picture.
Harrison. Okay, one guy there.
If you're wondering why it's a rather
nice one. Oh, this is red lights.
In 200 yards, turn right onto Roslin Avenue.
Otherwise, they're going to make a problem.
Decrees that if I was to say the wrong thing, I would probably turn the whole.
What happened? Somebody's.
No, he's just sitting on the floor in the corner. He's not laying down. He's just sitting there on the wall in the corner.
He's feeling cold or
yeah.
97% of child cruelty reports don't lead to charge. Star Hobson's family calling for change. The Times.
It will be easy for you.
Shall I go?
Well, they talk. Well, I tell you what I can tell you that
Thank you very much,
Madonna's Hand of God shirt was sold for £7.1 million. The Sun. Now, there's a football story that we can talk about, and we are looking at in more detail. The famous Three Lions anthem, which has pretty much, by and large, I would suggest, been the anthem since 1996, could be axed because FA bosses, or as the Sun says, flaky FA bosses, it could offend other nations. The idea of an anthem is that you celebrate, isn't it? I mean, dear God.